Hi, I'm Jay Barker. This is my YouTube channel, a crafting channel which mainly does crochet, and we are doing crochet again today, and we are doing one of my favourite series, and according to my viewing figures, one of your favourite series that I do as well, AI to Reality. This is actually the first AI to Reality of 2026 because I mean, if you keep up to date with my videos, I've had some problems with migraines, and also I really wanted to give this image here a lot of time. I wanted to try and get all the color matches, all the stitch details exactly as they are in this image. So the AI image itself, I have not generated. I have found it on Pinterest. I am not using any AI software to help me plan out this pattern or anything. I am using my own crochet skill. And here's a look at my design process, and hang on to the end to see how this guy turned out. Now I'm going to start with the body piece, as I've already got a fairly good idea what I'm going to be doing for it, because I'm going to be using a pattern piece I've already created. I actually originally created this body piece for my AI to Reality lion. This one here. So this is now actually going to be the third time I've used this body piece, because I used it to create this rainbow puppy from Blue's Clues. I don't know if it has a name. My children never watched Blue's Clues. Now, as I can't really see the full colours of the body with the front legs being in the way, I've just sort of guesstimated them from the patterns that I can see on the other legs, on the body that I can see, and yada yada yada. The back legs have been built with a flat base. This is because as I make this elephant, I am just getting some really seriously old cutie toy vibes from it. Now the front legs, as you can see so far, I decided to do the toes separately, and they will go on here. Now, obviously, you can see here that I've done the leg up to the striped section, and there needs to be some flowers here. So what I'm going to try and do is a type of jasmine stitch, exactly the jasmine star stitch. So first what I'm going to do is, well, I'm actually going to try the stitch out first. If I can get the hang of it, that's great. I'll do a little tutorial video and I'll link it in the descriptions. I hope it does work, because my other plan is to make every single flower individually around its own magic circle, and then like put puff stitches around it. I really don't want to do that. It'll be far too fiddly and take far too long, but if needs must, I will do it. Right, so I just have to figure out for myself then how I want to transition from the rows of double crochet into the jasmine stitch on the front legs. There is a lot of bulk added with the jasmine stitch, so I have slightly modified it. The jasmine stitch is made up of 3 puffball stitches, which are in turn made up of 3 repetitive yarn over hooks, insert yarn over hooks. That's going to add far too much bulk to my elephant's leg, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut down how many loops are actually on each of the puffball stitches that make up the jasmine stitch. So I'll have less stitches in all and hopefully less bulk. Now, the main difficulty with using the jasmine stitch is I am really going to have to be plotting out how I am making the jasmine stitch in regards to colours. So I will have a look of a solid flower for each of the stitches. In some cases, it'll be as easy as having a solid colour for one of the jasmine stitches, where in other cases, it'll simply be me starting in, say, purple for the first puff ball that makes up the jasmine stitch, then switching to yellow, then switching back to purple. It is going to cause a little bit of colour bleed through on the top of the stitches, which I think if I had time to play with it for, say, maybe another day or 2, I could solve. But to be honest, this AI elephant, it's really taking a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying taking the time. But geez, there's a lot of work on this one. So I got the first leg done, and then I went on to the second leg. That's most of the footage that you can see here. And when I compared the second leg to the first leg, they didn't match. For some reason, either the second leg lost a jasmine stitch or the first leg gained one. I actually think it's the former rather than the latter. So I redid the first leg to match the second leg, just because it had less bulk on it. And I think there was a few stitches just simply missed, but as the jasmine stitch is so bulky, that's really easy to undo that. As the jasmine stitch is so bulky, it doesn't really matter because you can thread these stitches together when it comes to stuffing or attaching, which I'll now have to figure out that bit. Okay, before I move on to the head and the trunk, I'm going to stuff the body parts and these leg parts, and I'm going to pin and stitch them all together just so I've got a better feel for it all. I did end up overstuffing the front legs because I actually did take off all of the stuffing where the jasmine stitch was. That's now laying flat against the body because that jasmine stitch does not need any more bulking from any stuffing. I also chose to close the end of the back legs because they've been secured more to the side than actually at the end of the legs. Originally, I did think the end of the legs was going to be where we secured it to the body, but it looks better from the side. All right, I'm going to move on to the trunk. So I'm going to work the trunk up and then do the head from the trunk. I'm thinking that's going to be my best approach. But no, this trunk isn't looking right. It's looking a bit on the thin side. So I'm going to unpick all this and we will start again. All right, so here's my trunk so far. I've made it as long as the leg. Well, from purple stripe to purple stripe. The end of the trunk is as wide as the leg. And the beginning of the trunk, it's about the same size as one of the jasmine stitch flowers. So that's kind of like how I'm translating the proportions. So like I've like proportioned it on the original image. And I'm trying to match those proportions in my own. Right, so I've got to do the curve of the trunk now. I'm going to keep the stitch count the same, but I'm gonna place stitches in the front loops and back loops only opposite each other, and also use slip stitches and half trebles as well. So I'm creating more bulk on one side of the trunk to get the curve. And once I had the right curve, or a curve I was happy with, at the very least, I just moved on to doing standard rounds. I did need to do a further increase round just to get the proper thickness of the trunk for when it joins to the body. And now I'm just moving on to doing some standard rounds before I move on to the head. Okay, so the trunk is done and I'm moving on to the head. And looking at the trunk to head join, I've made a mistake when adding my height stitches. So working around the trunk, I decided to put some half trebles, that's UK terms, around to even out the sides of the trunk, because the curve had resulted in one side being further up than the other. I shouldn't have done this because that will throw off how the trunk joins to the head. So I'm going to frog back, and I'm going to just use double crochet UK terms and see if that looks a lot better. Yeah, I was right. This is looking better. Now, looking at the image, the stitches are very odd in the way they travel across the head. So I think what I'm going to do, more than try and focus on recreating the directions of these stitches, I'm going to focus more on the colour changes, especially this almost headband of colours here. So going from the trunk, I'm going to make a curve to build the rest of the trunk round. I'm going to work 3 rounds, then come back and start the trunk to head transition stitches. Now, can you see what I mean by the stitches really not travelling right on the head here? Especially this band of yellow and red, almost like the headband that I mentioned before. These stitches are flat to the rest of the head, so it's definitely not a separate piece attached on the top. But they run in a different direction to the rest of the head stitches. So if I follow the stitches, I should make the front of the head, then, and the front of the head I should make it in like a curve around the trunk, then add the band, then make the back of the head, which seems to be travelling in its own sort of concave style as well. Or I could just make the head as a whole piece and put this colour band on as an actual headband and just put it on the top. And I've already spent so much time on this elephant, I might as well go the whole hog. Let's try and do it. Let's try and add this coloured band in flat. Yeah, I think basically I am going to make this head in 3 stages. So the band is going to lay flat after I've done the trunk to head stitches. I'm going to do these as one section, then I'm going to add the colours, then I'm going to work the back of the head, which will close the head, and then we'll just have the decorations on the top and the ears to contend with. Doesn't sound a lot of work when you put it like that. I've been working on the bottom of the head, working along the base of the head to the back. I'm going to try just using standard rounds for a few rows and see how everything's looking. And I've had to use the biggest toy eyes I have, 25 millimeters. I really am trying to trust my own process here. And now the back of the head is back to blue. And I can see on the AI image the stitches are running in a different direction, which is why I chose to break the yellow yarn and just end that section there. So I think I'm going to achieve this different direction by working in rows instead of rounds, and try to work in the curve of the back of the head as I go. So I kind of need to create a semicircle with rows. I think I'm just going to have to just make the piece and see how it fits and then try and go from there, because I'm really having difficulties visualizing this head. It's taking a lot longer than I originally thought it would. This elephant head is going to be the death of me, I swear. Now it's far too big for the body, and I hate the way it's come out with me trying to copy the lay of the stitches from the AI image. So I'm calling defeat and I'm frogging all the way back. I do like the trunk though, so the trunk is staying. And remember back when I said, oh, why keep things easy? I really, really wish I had now, because that's where we're going to go. We are just going to do a basic sphere for the head and we're going to lop everything on it. All right, I'm going to put the base of the head that I've made on sideways and then attach the trunk over the hole that's left, so that can fill out the head more and I don't have to worry about closing ends. And I'm also trying to angle the trunk a little downwards to try and match the pose in the AI image. And as for the eyes, I'm putting some toy safety eyes on. And I'm actually joining them at the trunk, so I don't have to worry about going back into the headpiece. The stripes, I've done them as stripes. I've done 2 separate stripes. Yellow, change to pink, change back to yellow. Done. Let's leave this head alone and get onto the ears, because what is an elephant without its beautiful ears? And I've decided to do it as a front and a back piece. So I'm going to start in the main blue, just doing the shape of the elephant's ear. Once I have that shape down, I'll then move on to the colours with all of the various stitches that are in it. Right, looking at the colour side of the ear, I don't think my stitches are going to be big enough. If I try and match stitch for stitch, that's here. At the centre here, these look like bobble stitches, and I'm pretty sure this is a granny square stitch, so that's 3 trebles, UK terms, in 1 stitch. But I'm not sure my stitches are going to match up, but we'll see when we get there. The back of the ears come together really well. I have done it in 2 pieces, so this bottom part of the ear was reattached to get the shape. So there are a lot of colour changes on the colour side, and to be honest, I gave up trying to carry my yarn. It was just too much. So there's a lot of breaking the yarn here and weaving in ends. The ends are going to kill me later on, but there we go. And I am happy that I was wrong. These stitches have come out correctly. This little blue part of the ear, I made my back piece a little bit bigger and I folded it over the front of the ear to get a similar sort of effect. I know it doesn't look exactly right, but it's what I can do. Now, it has been hard to shape the colour side of the ear, so I've done the best I can, and I'm going to run a separate row of stitches joining the back and the front together, And I'm going to use this row of stitches to pull the front colour section to the same shape as the back blue section. What you've actually been seeing here is the second ear. So this was me actually checking that I'd wrote everything down correctly, and I had! Yippee! Okay. So moving on to the flower detail. My flowers are really easy that I've done here. It's a magic circle, 5 double crochet into said magic circle, then into each of those 5 stitches you need to put 1 double crochet followed by a triple followed by a double crochet. So you put 3 of those stitches in each of the 5 stitches all the way around, and the pattern is up here because I mean, why not? I mean, to be perfectly honest, you can find free flower patterns like this all over the internet. It's not rocket science for these things. Right, the last detail I'm seeing here on the head, there are these little semicircle details on the tops of the ears, where the tops of the ears join to the head. And there's like this triangle right towards the back of the elephant's head. Now, I think this is AI's attempt to do something like this. I don't know what it's called, sorry. Now, I did dabble with the idea of doing like a full back piece on the elephant, but the head's looking really busy as it is, so I'm just going to take the semicircles. Well, actually, I'm going to do full circles and place them underneath the ear when it comes to joining up. And they've simply been done on the round, increasing by 8, 2 rows of pink followed by a row of yellow. Yeah, that is all of the pieces of the head pinned together. And here's the completed body, and it's time to put everything together. And last step is making the eyelashes. Now, I could have just used fake eyelashes, so I don't have any. Well, any fake ones, that is. I do have some. And here is the finished project. Yes, every stitch is not laid out how it is on the AI image, but you got to admit, if you saw them side by side, you definitely think they were made the same way. So, and I class this as a win. I'm equally happy and distraught that it's took this long to do. I'm happy that all of the detail work has gone into it. Not ashamed of the mistakes I made on the head, so I've left all them in this video. And hopefully it won't be too long before I release another AI to reality video. Bye, YouTube. Oh my God, we need to name it. What are we going to name this elephant? Oh, we can't. I don't know, guys. Drop suggestions in the comments for what we should name him.